Okay, everyone. So even though I'm not technically streaming today, there's just a lot happening. Ubisoft just did exactly what I predicted they would do with a new subsidiary merging with Tencent. It's a whole thing. We'll talk about it on stream tomorrow, I'm sure. But the other breaking news is that Warner Brothers is officially canceling the definitive edition of Hogwarts Legacy, which is wild. You know, it hadn't been officially revealed yet or announced yet, and yet they were working on it. But I think that there's a few key things that this tells us. For one, if we look at the actual article, I guess just to break it down and explain exactly what's going on here, what they've said is they've canceled the planned expansion for the popular Hogwarts Legacy title as part of an ongoing restructuring at the entertainment company's video game unit, according to people familiar with the matter. Again, remember David Haddad, who was previously the head honcho at Warner Brothers Games, he left, most likely was fired and pushed out, but he left just a matter of like weeks ago or a month or two ago. And since then, the guy above him has kind of taken over his role and just been doing all of the work himself while they search for a replacement. Whether that actually happens or not, time will tell. He probably stays in that control position for a while. But anyway, they are systematically reviewing what they've got in their lineup, what they think they can charge for it, whether it's going to be profitable. Because, shocker, if a project is not going to be profitable, it doesn't make any sense to continue working on it, you know? Like, if you know after spending $50 million that this project is going to flop after you spend $200 million, just cut your losses. Cut it at 50 and move on. What we've seen in the last handful of years is big projects like Suicide Squad, which frankly should have been canceled. They ended up getting full development. They get hundreds of millions of dollars thrown at them, and it's just a total waste. So they're trying to address that and prevent it from happening again. They say the expansion, which would have added new storylines to the original game, had been planned for release this year alongside a definitive edition with all of the content. The plans weren't publicly announced, but were reported last year by Bloomberg, of course. A spokesperson for Warner Brothers declined to comment, which says a lot. Warner Brothers canceled the project this week, in part due to concerns that the amount of content was not substantial enough to justify the price being considered. I'm thinking that this was probably like they were going to launch a definitive edition at 70 and they were going to have maybe like an hour of new content, and that definitely would be really hard to justify unless it were like a major graphical overhaul or something. And it probably just wasn't that. It's probably something that a lot of other companies would do for free. I mean, we saw with The Last of Us Part 2, they added like a whole roguelike system. They, for God of War Ragnarok, added the Valhalla expansion for free, which was just like another roguelike mode. It was just crazy. Like they just threw tons of content at people, which was amazing and fantastic. And it's kind of hard to justify charging a massive price when other companies are doing, in some cases, even more for free or for way, way less, for like a $10 upgrade or whatever. So, I mean, at the very least, they're trying to consider whether or not it offers a good value to the consumer, which is refreshing, I guess, because they definitely weren't too concerned with that with Suicide Squad. But anyway, you know, it's a game with like 2.5 hours of content stretched over 10 hours, and then they expect you to grind it for years on end. But anyway, I could ramble about that all day. You guys know about that. As I say, this is the latest in a string of big moves at Warner Brothers video game division, which is looking to return to profitability after a dire 2024. True dat. They just shut down Monolith, which was working on the Wonder Woman game, previously did all the Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War games. Earlier this year, the unit ousted its president, shuttered 3 studios, and canceled a high-profile game based on Wonder Woman. The company said it plans to double down on its biggest franchises, including Harry Potter. And of course, a Hogwarts Legacy sequel is still in development at Warner Brothers Avalanche in Salt Lake City, Utah. And so they're still doing it. Avalanche was working on the planned expansion with London-based Rocksteady Studios, which developed last year's failed Suicide Squad video game. Part of the plan was to restore a storyline tied to one of the original game's companions that was cut during development, people said, which is true. I believe it was Ravenclaw didn't have house quest tied to it. At one point they were going to, but they cut it because it wasn't far enough along and it was going to be too expensive to tie together in time for the game's release. So if you played Ravenclaw, which I did, you just didn't get a companion quest, which was kind of a bummer. Okay, yeah, I wanted to double check because I wasn't 1,000% sure, but yeah, it was Amit Thakar, who was the Ravenclaw companion, but only had 2 quests, which were actually main story quests. And after that, there was nothing else. So there wasn't any specific like long quest line like Sebastian had or Poppy had. So there you go. But they canceled it, canned it, and are moving on from it, focusing now entirely on the sequel, which Avalanche has been hiring like mad. I'm actually subscribed to their job listings, like notification system with a secret email address. So I get emails whenever they have a new job posting because I'm very curious and cautious with that game. I want to make sure they're not hiring like a bunch of live service devs or people that are going to try to put battle passes and stuff in it. And so far, I've not seen anything that's particularly worrisome, which is good, but they've been hiring like crazy, which is also really good to see. It shows that this is going to be crazy big and ambitious. And after the success of Hogwarts Legacy, I mean, I'm sure they've just been given a blank check to do whatever they want with it. So I'm excited to see what they do. But what is also interesting and what I expect is going to be a route of unfortunate news is now that this is canceled, I really struggled to see what Rocksteady and their future is. Like, I really struggled to see a good outcome from this because, like, again, you think of it like a sociopathic, non-emotional corporate executive, okay? Don't think of it as like a normal human being. If you are trying to find ways to cut costs within your company, you just canceled a massive project that you were working on that they had been working on for like over a year. And one of the 2 studios that was working on it, primarily Rocksteady, they also were responsible for one of the biggest flops, if not the biggest flop in your company's history. Hundreds of millions of dollars wasted. And now they don't really have anything significant on their like workbench. I really think there's a high probability that in the next few weeks we hear news that Rocksteady's been shut down. I wouldn't like be thrilled about that. There's been rumors that they were pitching a Batman game. It's not, as far as I'm aware, clear if that was greenlit fully or if they're just working on the pitch, but we'll see. I mean, maybe they see the pitch and they're like, oh, Rocksteady is back. You guys can, like, you still got it. We can still do this. So yeah, you guys work on the new Batman game. It'll be a new trilogy after Arkham Knight and you'll just do a whole new thing. Maybe that's what happens and they get the chance to kind of redeem themselves with that. I mean, I really do hope that happens. I would love more Batman Arkham games from the studio that made them so great. But a lot of the devs that made those Arkham games are gone now. Notably, like even the founders, Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, they left before the launch of Suicide Squad to found a new studio elsewhere in, I still believe it's London. And they took a lot of devs with them reportedly as well. So the Rocksteady that exists right now is not the same Rocksteady that made Arkham Knight. A lot of those devs are gone. So you're just kind of left wondering, okay, what does Warner Brothers see in Rocksteady? And I'm honestly not sure. So I think that this is another instance of Warner Brothers trying to take decisive, major moves and decisive action to remedy years of mismanagement. And as one of my finance professors once told me, he said, when a company is violently ill, you need a violent doctor. And in other words, when there's a company that just has a lot of horrible problems, you got to get somebody in there that's just ripping stuff out and is willing to go crazy. And it seems like that's what they're doing, canceling this project after they've worked on it for like a year plus because they don't think it's going to justify the price tag. And now I wouldn't be surprised if they also shut down Rocksteady, but we'll see. Time will tell. I hope they don't get shut down. I hope they have a chance to redeem themselves. Rocksteady is one of like my favorite developers from back in the day. I mean, they made one of my favorite games of all time, Arkham City. I would hate to see that studio shut down, but seeing them cancel this project makes me very worried for them. But you know what? Time will tell. Time will tell what the future holds. But what I think most likely we see is just a continuing of doubling down on the major IP, the things they think are their safest bets, things like Mortal Kombat, things like Harry Potter, of course. There's rumors, of course, that they're going to be tying Hogwarts Legacy's sequel into the HBO show. I don't know what that means because the HBO show is a retelling of the books, but Hogwarts Legacy is a massive prequel, like well before the happenings of Harry Potter. So I really don't know how that works. I don't know what they're doing, if they're moving the timeline up or if they just are going to have a couple little, Easter eggs planted here and there. But either way, it seems like they're really trying to connect all of this stuff and put a lot of money into it. And it might not be a bad time either, because of course they're doing the whole Ministry World at Epic Universe in Orlando, Florida. So there's a ton of money being poured into the Harry Potter franchise right now, and they're going to continue to double down on that since it's their big money maker. I mean, you can't really argue with the success of Hogwarts Legacy. They printed money for them, but we'll see if the sequel can do the same thing, because I'm honestly not sure if it can, since Hogwarts Legacy kind of scratched that itch people had for decades to explore Hogwarts and be a student. And I'm not sure how a sequel outdoes that, how a sequel meets that same demand, if that demand's been satiated. I'm not sure. But anyway, we'll talk more about it when there's another development. Let me know what you think of all of this in the comment section below. I'll be reading through them because I'm bored today. So until stream tomorrow, my friends, much love. I'll see you soon. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye. He took my thing.